Starting yoga classes seated. You're paying attention, really up to you. You're paying attention to how it feels in your body. I don't want your toes to get tingly or your feet to get tingly. Try to find that connection to where you're seated. As you settle in on your breath, setting aside all that's going on in the world. And before you get too settled, if you want to do that shrug of your shoulders up by your ears, really let your face squeeze together, maybe scrunch up your nose and take another big inhale and then exhale. Audibly let it all go. And then inhale, same thing. Do that a couple times, just sort of like you're shrugging off the day and you're practicing that shrug of your shoulders up, and then the opposite where you let them fall, but then you actually from within pull them down and you feel the slight pressure on the tops of your shoulders. And maybe after a few of those, however many make sense to you, maybe you can settle in a little bit more on your breath, letting your breath get fuller and deeper. You're breathing any way that feels comfortable, whether it be through your nose or your mouth or a combination of your nose and mouth. Your eyes don't have to be closed. They can just have a slight gaze a few feet in front of you, not really focused on anything. And you're unhooking from all that's going on in the world, all that's going on in your life. And you're connecting to yourself and your breath right here, right now. You're practicing paying attention to the present moment. You're practicing paying attention to your breath and your body so you can listen to it. And you can hear what it has to tell you. So that way it doesn't have to scream at you. You can start to listen, so then you can hear when it is quietly speaking to you. And see if that doesn't help, that awareness doesn't help lead to less injury and also, more energy. So let that breath grow into that 3-part yoga breath, the lower third, middle third, upper third of your lungs, and release fully upper, middle, lower. And then let that breath be as full and deep as feels good, and let your whole body get involved. So as you fill up that lower third, press your navel into the space in front of you. The middle third, feel the ribs move up and apart. And the breath goes into the upper third, feel your heart move up in your chest. And then exhale, heart and chest release, ribs move down and together, and then you pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again, and you fill up navel, ribs, chest. Exhale fully, chest, ribs, navel. And the sensation might be super subtle, and so you really do have to try to get quiet, settle the storylines down, relax the to-do lists, all the thoughts about the future, all the thoughts about your past, and just be with your breath and where you're at right here, right now. Just cultivating that 3-part yoga breath and that full deep exchange of air, that in and out, that is oxygenating your blood, so it's going to support your body as you move. It's also helping to keep you connected to the present moment, so your awareness isn't traveling into all it's trying to. Sometimes, you really have to concentrate. And so always take your time. And that in and out is the heartbeat, is the pulse of the universe. And it's within you and it's all around you. And you connecting to that is you connecting to the pulse of the universe, of all the nature and everything around us. Being aware of how your navel is initiating, beginning the breath, and then also it's the end of the breath. And if you're looking for a place for your awareness to settle within, and you're looking for that home base, that start, let it be your navel. That navel is what kept you alive for however many months you were in the womb. And once we're born, we promptly forget about it. And so keeping your awareness at that navel helps you to start to recognize, right, that how it all comes from within. You are pressing down from within to feel that connection. Make sure your feet aren't tingly and you're always arranging so you're comfortable. And I like to tilt my lower girdle, that pelvis, that lower body, that back body it's pulling down, that front body pulling up, pressing the knees away, flexing the feet. If it's not comfortable to have your legs super close, you can also have them just extended with a deep bend right in front of you. And you found that home base, navel down, navel dimples. If you want to bring your awareness to the back body, you're somewhere in between that in your body. Think strong, solid base, root down into that place, and then at the same time, start to think of yourself lifting and rising up out of that place where you're rooting down. Stretch yourself into all that space you're meant to take up. So this is where I like to lift the heart, pull the blades down gently together. You're not squeezing the blades together so like you're trying to squeeze that grape, but you're activating that back body so it supports that front body. You might feel that gentle pressure on the top of your shoulder, your collarbone. Nothing should hurt, but there's definite sensation with sitting in this pose. And if it does not feel comfortable to you, take advantage of a wall or the back of something in order to feel comfortable and to build up. That's how you build up. I still think I think as a baby you're born being able to sit up, but then, right, we promptly don't condition in order to keep ourselves up. So you're rooting down, you're rising from within, your hands can make their way to your heart. Keep staying aware of that breath in and out, that give and take, that pulse, that heartbeat of everything. And take any time to set a personal intention that you might be working on in your life. Doesn't have to be a full-blown sentence. It can just be thoughts and images of whatever so moves you. And then hopefully you've got room to reach, keeping those girdles engaged. So those shoulders pulled out of your ears, you're going to reach those arms up over your head. So try not to let those shoulders shrug up by your ears. You already start to get that stretch. Down your side body, exhale, pull down into your heart center. A couple more times, inhaling and then exhaling. Third time. Wonderful. Find that breath again. Your hands can be wherever feel good. Your eyes can be open or closed. Hopefully I said welcome at the beginning. I remember being excited that this was starting. Start to unwind your leg. I'm going to spread my blanket out a little bit wider on my mat and stay facing the long edge of my space. And before I get moving too much, I'm going to just drop those knees side to side. Thank you all so much for joining us. All right, I'm going to drop my knees over to the right. My legs are on my blanket. This is also a great place for some blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and get my block. So my knees are to the right. I've got my right hand gently down on the ground, my left hand on my hip, my right foot, left knee not stacked on top of each other. So they're not like this. They're definitely pulled apart, and I'm flexing my feet and I'm bearing down with my weight into the floor with my lower body. There's no weight on this arm, and I'm not hyperextending that elbow. And to start with, I am just gently swinging this left girdle, the lower part, the pelvis, the hip. It's swinging that left side, and I'm just gently rocking back and forth. All right, so remember, you're not putting any weight on this back hand. I'm even just going to bring a block there just to have it sit. And then take that right hand, keeping those legs engaged. Let that right arm start to just reach around. Keep your girdle engaged so you start to feel that stretch. When I teach little kids, I teach this a lot when I teach them. This is a car. Like pretend like you're running a car along the floor. That's the sensation. So you're not putting any weight on this right arm, and you're gently pulling around those legs. All right, let that left arm now, so that was with the car, now bring it up so it's shoulder height, and it's more like it's an airplane. You're flying an airplane, but it's just shoulder height. And if you gently press down with your whole self, and then when you stretch, you get this wonderful stretch down your back body and your side body. All right, keeping awareness in your trunk, you're lifting that front body, you're pulling down that back body, you're going to land your plane. This is where you might have to rearrange and make sure your legs are going to stay comforted. I wanted to move a little bit so my knee would stay on the blanket. I want you to protect yourself just like that. I'm going to have that left hand down by that left foot, keeping that girdle engaged. Going to inhale and then reach. So it's almost like now I've got that rocket. So instead of doing the plane, we're doing the rocket, and you're reaching. And after a couple of those, if you're feeling the energetic pull, to pull up on your knee. And then this is where I have to move around a little bit to make sure that my knee gets in that place that's going to support me. And I want you to play around that, and I don't want you to hyperextend anything as you do this. And so then pulling in to that full stretch, and this is where the block comes wonderfully. I've got that left leg extended. I've got that right knee right underneath my right hip, and then I'm coming into that great big stretch. And you can also let that left leg float up, breathing full and deep. You're pulling that back body down, lifting that front body. You don't have to have that leg raised. It's all up to you. You never have to have brought your butt up off the floor. You could have kept your butt on the floor the whole time. All right, we're going to come down. Take your time. Make sure you don't hurt yourself. Come back onto those sitting bones. Notice how you feel. Make sure you've got that cushion underneath you. I am a big proponent of not hurting yourself. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I mean, yes, I do want you to feel uncomfortable because that's part of what helps you grow, but I don't want it to be that it is you're not able to withstand. I want you to set yourself up to be able to tolerate, to practice tolerating, because that practice of tolerating, now I'm got my knees to the left, right knee, left foot, not stacked on top of each other, and then just a gentle rock of that hip up and down. So now that right butt cheek is coming up off the floor. I'm not hyperextending that left elbow. I'm not even putting any weight on that left arm. I'm trying to keep it all up on my trunk with those feet flexed, inhaling and exhaling. Stay with your breath. And then when you're ready, start to zoom your car along the floor, letting that shoulder and that side body start to wake up and open. Inhale and exhale. Few more. Try to pay attention to your head. Is your head pointing down to the floor, or is it pointing to where the wall and the ceiling meet? All right, left or right arm comes up and you're flying the plane. Inhaling and exhaling, always flexing the feet, always pressing the knees away. I'm going to land the plane, that right hand that had the plane. Oh, the right hand comes down by that right foot. Now it's the rocket. And you don't have to lift up. You never have to go further than this move right here. You can live right here. You're going to get this wonderful stretch. But if it so moves you to come up, so you lift up the trunk and you pull up onto the knees, and I want you to play around with where then you land. And if you decide, okay, that's fine, I'll just be right here, then great. But if you want to try to pull that left knee now underneath your left hip and then pull up into that great big stretch, not hyperextending that arm, keeping that shoulder pulled into the socket, and then lifting up to play around. I can feel it even more on this side, and there is a nice pinch. Inhale and exhale. You're not hurting yourself. You're always paying attention to your body. All right, bring yourself down to come down now onto hands and knees, and press yourself back into that child's pose. Make sure you're taking a drink of water if you need it. Hopefully you've got something near you to wet your whistle. And then settle into that downward dog. Walk your legs as far apart as feels good. You're still holding yourself in that trunk. Bring your awareness to right behind your navel, right in front of where your tail would be. And if you don't know where your tail would be, if you just reach back, right? And I know it's not very delicate, but you know what the tail protects, right? The crack. And that's about where your tail would be. And you're trying to find that awareness someplace in the middle of you, behind your navel, in front of your tail. That is your home base. That is where you return to, start from, move from. You're rooting down from that place, and then you are rising up from that place. Your child, yes, it's a resting posture, but you are still you're still holding your trunk, that back body coming down, front body coming up in order to protect you. You're still paying attention to your joints and not hyperextending. All right, lift yourself up into your table position after you feel complete in your child. Now your hands are right underneath your shoulders, knees right underneath your hips, and you're not hyperextending those elbows. Move through that little cat and cow. This is where you tuck your tail down and then do that little tail sway, so you find that movement, and then you're in that place of support, pulling that back body down, lifting the front body. Now here's where you do squeeze the blades together, pull them apart without hyperextending the elbows, and then find your place of stability, pulling them gently apart, and then anti-shrugging them out of your ears, and then inhaling, dropping that middle, like that bottom of your rib cage down, swaying that middle back, and then exhale, pull up into that cat stretch. Inhale and exhale. My shirt is kind of not making it really great to see that. It's like, because it's a little bit floaty, but hopefully you feel that. If you do that engagement, you feel the cat and cow just feel that much more amazing. But of course, right, you can be like, I don't even know what you're talking about, and it doesn't even make sense to me, and I just want to move through cat and cow anyway. I've always done it, then that's fine. Do it. Right? You're always taking care of yourself. All right. After you are finished and moving through your cat and cow, take a few rests back into a child. This is where holding yourself up in that table can be taxing, so reaching your arms, gently winding your wrists help to relieve any strain. You're never being harsh on your joints. You're always trying to protect those delicate parts of your body. And then you're going to come back into table. Make sure you've got room all around you. I'm going to be up on blocks. I'm actually going to turn like this just so you can see. So when I say all around you, I mean behind, and I mean next to you, and then even you're not right against a wall. So make sure you're in the middle of your space. We're going to be in that stable table. Keep that right knee bent and pull it up towards your right shoulder. Try not to dip down on that left side. Stay lifted. That right knee and right foot are in the same plane. You can even take a gander back, breathing full and deep, and lift as high as feels good. It might not be as high as your shoulder. Maybe it's only the elbow. Maybe it's only the wrist. It doesn't matter. You are breathing full and deep, and then after another big inhale, this is where the sweet, sweet relief comes. Press it back behind you. Now lengthen that leg, and I'll turn so you can lengthen that leg. Keep those hips nice and square. Inhale and exhale, and then let it float. Keep your hips square. Just let the leg float to the other side of your left leg, and then you gently look over your left shoulder, feeling that stretch down your side. You're not trying to reach that right leg super far away from your body. You're just going right over that left side. Now remember, If you didn't start with that right leg, that's okay. Just make sure you manage that. Rest in child, breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And then into table. Even though I'm pressing evenly into those blocks, and if you don't like the blocks, it adds a whole other dimension, but it does help to lift. You're still not hyperextending those elbows. Stay lifted. Let that left knee come up as high as feels good to you, and you, no matter how high you can get it, you're going to feel that pinch, and you want to feel that pinch. That means that you're getting into those nooks and crannies. That left foot and that left knee are in the same plane. So that means the knee isn't higher or the knee isn't lower than the foot without dipping onto that right side. You want to keep staying lifted. Try to keep your heart square over the mat. And now here's the sweet, sweet relief. You press it back, find that sweet, sweet relief, and then keep those hips square so it's just you letting that leg float over to the right side of your mat a little bit. You don't have to try to reach very far. In fact, you really shouldn't be reaching very far, because the more you bear with that trunk, keep it square, your leg can't go very far. All right, look over that right shoulder, pull that right shoulder, that right ear, that right hip towards each other, whatever feels good. And then once again, press yourself back into your child, resting completely back. Taking a few breaths, letting your arms and your upper body definitely resettle down. You've walked your legs as wide apart as feels good. Inhale and exhale. And then if you want to press up into a downward dog, come into your downward dog. Start on that stable table. If you just want to stay at that stable table, then stay there, holding yourself in that stable table. Keep practicing those hip girdle and upper girdle engagements. If you're in downward dog, you're definitely keeping your ears out of your shoulders out of your ears. You're up on the balls of your feet, not your toes. Your heels are heavy. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. Full deep breath. Remember, you can rest down in your child at any time, or rest down in your table at any time. We're going to bring that right leg up between our hands, and you can come from downward dog, or I like to have the blocks up, and you can even come through table. Bring that right foot up between your hands, and then curl those left toes. Pay attention, though, to how far apart your right foot and left foot are. They're on railroad tracks, but you want to feel control, and you want to feel control in your trunk, and then you're controlling your legs from your trunk. All right, bringing yourself up, your hands can come to your hips, and then you can bring your upper body up. Your hands could be at your heart or your hips. Breathe full and deep. Make sure those right front toes are not gripping. You're really trying to find the ball of that foot. And then this back leg, make sure it's not too far back. I want you to feel even on your right and your left leg. Inhale and exhale. And if you are falling, if you are moving around, you're being kind and gentle to yourself, and you're trying to keep that awareness in your trunk. All right, we're going to really challenge ourselves here. And this is where it's helpful sometimes to have a chair or a wall, but you don't need one, because you can also, right, you can do one fell swoop up into what we're going to do, or you take the steps. And the steps are, you bring the weight evenly, bring that leg up, and then you have that knee bent. Or if it does so move you, you're coming up. That you can also have that block. You're not putting any weight on that block. That block is holding no weight as I gently rest that left heel. And I'm pulling down with that back body, lifting with that front body. Inhale and exhale. Now keep that right kneecap raised. Lengthen that left heel out in front of you. Keep awareness in your body. Bringing that left foot down next to your right foot. And you are in that mountain posture. Inhale and exhale. And then bring yourself so you're in the middle of your space, because I want you to have room. Because I wasn't sure. I figured everyone would probably be towards the front. Because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do that same thing. You're you're balanced on both of your legs because you're balanced in that lower trunk. The weight is going to be held though by the lower trunk, and you're going to be on that right leg, and you're going to be extending that left heel however high you can get it. Inhale and exhale. This is where we're going to play around with a little hinge. And then let that left leg float like a pendulum, and you can have your foot on the ground and be floating like a pendulum. You're playing around with your balance, and then you're hinging into your warrior three. Play around. Go for some blocks or reach for the wall. You don't have to be completely off of any support. Inhale and exhale, breathing full and deep. And then let your hands be on either side of that right foot as you lift that left leg up into the sky to come into that standing split. This is you hinging over that right leg. Keep that right knee protected. You are not hyperextending it at all. And then very, very gently let those left toes come down. You might need to sneak your right foot, your right leg up, and you bring that left knee down whenever you want. We're going to come back into downward dog or child. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. I'm going to grab a little drink. So keeping that awareness in your trunk, you are doing whatever feels good to you, coming into your downward dog, staying in your table. It doesn't matter what works for you. You're going to bring that left leg forward into that runner's lunge. I'm bringing my legs on railroad tracks, keeping that navel and heart stacked, that navel right underneath that heart stacked on top of that navel. Trying to keep those hips square. It took me a long time to find that awareness of how that right side and that left side, how it's all the parts are working together. So everything, that's how everything is. Everything is a part of something bigger, and it is just, right, you got to figure out how it all works together. All right, inhale and exhale. This is where you're going to lift. If you want to come in one fell move to standing on that left leg, bringing that right heel wherever feels good, whether you just have it floating in the air or you're already pressing through that heel with that leg lengthened. I want you to take as much time as you need to find that place and then practice that. Keep breathing. Inhale and exhale, and then let that right foot come down so you step back a little bit. Same thing. That weight is in that lower trunk. You let that right leg come up, pressing through that heel, and then play around with trying to hinge. That's what you're practicing here. You're hinging. That right leg is like a pendulum. You have to kind of lift it up a little bit in order to have it not hit the floor. And then you are hinging at your hips. You really feel this in that left glute especially, but you should feel this in your whole trunk. And you can use your arms wherever. Inhale and exhale, and then play around with coming into a standing split. So I'm lifting myself up to come even, to hinge a little bit more against that left leg, and then I love to crack. I don't know if you heard that. I'm a big cracker. I love it. Inhale and exhale. I love to crack my joints. But it never hurts. If it hurts you, I definitely do not want you to do it. All right, let those right toes come down. Bring that left leg forward so you're in that runner's lunge to then step back into a plank to move up into a downward dog or go right to a child. And if you were in that downward dog, come to a child, letting yourself reset, inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. And this is one of those things, if what I just led you through, you felt like it didn't work, or you felt like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, try not to attach to it, because the fact that you're practicing it means it's awesome. I mean, it's going to incorporate. And if you're like, yeah, that was like the easiest thing in the world, this is so simple, I mean, that's great, but try not to attach to that either. Try to find just that equanimity in your thoughts where what is going on, you're just being with it. You're going to come onto your back, letting those knees windshield wiper a few times back and forth. You're trying to spread as wide as you can. Keep trying to bring your shoulder blades, the backs of your shoulders, the backs of your arms, your crack, your glutes down. You could do that pelvic tilt here. I like to do the diamond shape with the thumbs at the navel and the forefingers at the pubic bone, and then press into those feet to lift and do your pelvic tilt position to find that place of support. I really got to crank mine down, but then that activates those legs. All right, you're going to let those arms reach out to the side. Just let that right leg just cross over that left leg, breathing full and deep. Stay with that breath. You might want to jiggle onto, use that left foot. You might want to jiggle onto that left hip. Keep your right shoulder connected and just let those knees fall to the left. This should not hurt. This should be a delicious stretch. It should be in your middle back. I want you to not have this be in your low back because that doesn't need to twist as much as everyone thinks it does. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I want my twists are always in the middle back. All right, bring yourself up into, so you're getting that movement in those oblique areas, that rib cage area, which gets no love. Keep your legs crossed the way they are. Now you let your knees gently fall to the other side. So that right leg is gently, it feels delicious. I'm getting this wonderful IT band stretch. Once again, my low back is stable and flat, and there is no twist in it. The twist is in the middle back. All right, lift. Now, if you didn't have your right leg on top, it's okay. You can still, just do it the opposite. Just make sure you're managing that, and it doesn't matter which way you start. I'm definitely leading you in a certain way through this, but it doesn't matter because you get all the same stretches. All right. I've got my left knee on top of my right knee, my right foot on the floor. I'm going to keep that left arm from shoulder blade to fingers on the floor. I'm lifting and jiggling a little bit onto my right hip.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh my gosh. My watch just talked to me, sorry. That scared me to death. I thought someone was in the room. All right, drop those knees. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. And then lift yourself up. Make sure you are taking care of yourself now. You're letting that left leg gently pull that right leg. And now hopefully you can feel that delicious stretch down your IT band. Inhale and exhale. And then bring yourself up into an upright position. And then you're going to reset however feels good to you. Maybe you want to hug in and rock and circle. Maybe you want to go into happy baby pose. That feels amazing here. Inhale and exhale, breathing full and deep. In happy baby, you're trying not to strain as you reach up into with those arms. Let's come into some sort of heart opener. A traditional way to do this, because we're not going to be here for too long, just a couple breaths, maybe a minute or so, bringing the block long ways and then having that up to then, and you're upright, you're pulling that back body down, lifting that front body, pull those blades together, and it takes some time to find that place. You got to play around with it. This is where you're figuring out what works for you. You can also be on a bolster and just be opening and rounding open on a bolster. Breathing full and deep. Another way you can do this heart opener is to say, this is really big. You stack double, and you try to bring your shoulder blades to the top of this. I'm not going to have you shouldn't pull your shoulders out of your ears, and there's a gentle little shrug that protects your neck and the back of your head. And if this too much and you try it and it's too much, come out supporting yourself. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. If you did come into this big one, you come up kind of like an old school sit up, or you walk yourself up, never putting any strain. If you're on a bolster, that will probably feel amazing maybe through relaxation. Here's where you're going to take however much time you need to settle into whatever the last poses that you want to do. It doesn't even have to be yoga. It can be just some stretch that you like to do, and then let yourself settle on to your back if that is comfortable, to settle into relaxation, getting whatever props you need in order to feel the most supported. If laying on your back is not what would be best for you due to whatever reason, you can also rest in a fetal-like position, or you can sit up in meditation. And this is where maybe you start to tolerate a little bit by sitting away from the wall or not having support with your back. And then when it gets too taxing, settle back into the support. Practice that tolerating.